Hello, I'm your narrator, and we'll be going over a story written from the Doctor's perspective. I know it may be a little bit confusing, but try to think of it like this. Whenever I refer to you, I'm actually referring to the Doctor. You step up to the console and start fiddling with it, setting the TARDIS to take us somewhere odd, somewhere scary, somewhere downright spooky. The TARDIS systems were as you input coordinates, the console's various dials and switches responding to your touches. A slight tremor runs through the ship as the coordinates lock in. The TARDIS emits a soft, almost hesitant chime, as if unsure about your destination choice. Sarah moves closer to the console, her posture tense. Spooky, you say? That's comforting. Not. She glances at the wall-mounted scanner, which shows only static, a sign that the destination is truly unknown to the ship's systems. The purple column of light flickers ominously, casting strange shadows across the console room. You say, oh come on. It'll be fun. The scares we've had so far are the ones of the light, robots, aliens, evil geniuses. I want something else, something a little less tangible. Sarah, do you believe in ghosts? The TARDIS systems continue to hum as you input the coordinates, the ship preparing for what it knows will be an unusual journey. Sarah's face lights up with amusement at your question. Ghosts? Of course I believe in them, Doctor. But that doesn't mean I want to go looking for them, especially not in some spookier place you've picked out. The scanner flickers again, this time showing brief flashes of what appears to be an old, abandoned mansion, before returning to static. The TARDIS emits a low, almost mournful tone, as if it's trying to warn you about your destination choice. You say, but what are they really? Ghosts? Or persona stealing moss in another spatial dimension? That was always my theory, but maybe I'm wrong. Wanna find out? The TARDIS materializes with a shudder, the familiar whoosh of its landing carrying a note of unease. As the doors open, a chilly mist swirls into the console room, carrying with it the unmistakable scent of decay and neglect. The scanner reveals a crumbling, Victorian-era mansion, its once grand facade now obscured by overgrown ivy and rotting shutters. Sarah steps out cautiously, her eyes widening as she takes in the dilapidated scene. Doctor, are you sure about this? This place looks like it should be condemned, let alone haunted. She pulls her jacket tighter around herself, as if to ward off more than just the cold. You say, well, probably, but oh I love it. I mean, something built by man on this world but forgotten by him, except the world never forgets, and she adopts it, covering it in vines and plants as it gets on in years, like a elderly home. You know they're gonna die, but you're holding on. The TARDIS sits silently, the only sound the soft hum of its systems and the distant chirping of nocturnal creatures. Sarah glances back at you, a mixture of concern and curiosity playing across her features. An elderly home, huh? I think you might be anthropomorphing a bit too much, Doctor. She steps forward, her boots crunching on the overgrown gravel path leading to the mansion's entrance. The ivy-covered facade looms before you, its once elegant features now obscured by the passage of time and neglect. A large, ornate door hangs slightly ajar, creaking softly in the chill night breeze. You say yes probably, but let's go, it's unlocked. The creaking door hinges protest as you push the heavywood open, revealing a grand foyer bathed in silvery moonlight streaming through broken windows. The air inside is thick with dust and decay, disturbed by your entrance. Sarah's footsteps echo as she follows you inside, her face tense with unease. Doctor, do you really think this is safe? She whispers, her words seeming to linger in the still air. The mansion's interior is a maze of corridors and rooms, each more decrepit than the last. As you step further inside, a door slams somewhere above, followed by an unnatural silence that seems to stretch on for an eternity. You say, of course not. Sarah, we fought Dakin, Daleks, the Master, Zyberman, the Master again, and probably one in forgetting, oh yes, the parasite planet thing. Anyways, we did all that and it wasn't safe at all, and you're drawing the line at haunted houses. Sarah rolls her eyes, but a small smirk tugs at the corners of her mouth. All right, I suppose you have a point. But let's keep our sonic screwdriver ready, shall we? You say, excuse me? Our sonic screwdriver? It's my screwdriver, you don't have one. The mansion's foyer stretches before you, a grand space filled with the eerie silence of abandonment. Moonlight filters through the shattered remains of a once magnificent chandelier, casting fractured shadows across the dust-covered floor. The air hangs heavy with the scent of decay and neglect, an unsettling reminder of the building's long-forgotten past. Sarah's eyes narrow as she listens to your words, a playful glint sparking in their depths. Oh, I think you mean our sonic screwdriver, Doctor. After all, we've been through so many adventures together, haven't we? I'd say that makes it as much mine as it is yours. You say, Sarah, you've never even used it. Sarah's face sets in a fierce scowl, her hands planted firmly on her hips. That's not true. I've used it plenty of times. Like that time in the Zyberman facility when you were incapacitated, or during the Master's last scheme when you were too busy arguing to notice the structural weaknesses in the building. And don't forget about the time we were trapped in that quantum anomaly dash. The conversation is interrupted by a sudden crash from somewhere deeper in the mansion, causing both of you to startle. The sound echoes through the halls, followed by an eerie silence that seems to stretch on for an eternity. You say, okay, ignoring that, Sarah, either my memory is getting really bad, which wouldn't be that much of a surprise at 102 I suppose, or something's messing with our heads, because none of those happened. I was never incapacitated during the conflict with the Zyberman and the Master's last scheme. We weren't even in a building, we were in a reality nexus, or whatever it was, and trapped in the quantum anomaly. Do you mean when we met with Sam? Because we never got trapped, Sarah. I think something is manipulating your memories. Sarah's face contorts in confusion, her brow furrowing as she struggles to process your words. What? But I'm sure those things happened. I remember them clearly. She reaches up to massage her temples, her words laced with uncertainty. Oh God, what's happening to me? The mansion's oppressive atmosphere suddenly feels suffocating, the shadows seeming to writhe and shift as if alive. A low, rumbling sound reverberates through the floorboards, and the very air grows colder, as if something ancient and malevolent has taken notice of your presence. Sarah grabs your arm, her grip tight with fear. Doctor, I don't like this. Something's wrong. You stand totally still, looking out at the empty room with your eyes wide. I'm sure you'll be fine once we get out of this. Electromagnetic fields, they're associated with ghosts and haunted places. It also happens that when they're powerful enough they can mess with your head a bit, causing hallucinations and such. That's usually the explanation people give for ghosts. But how could this place have such a strong electromagnetic influence that it alters the way you remember memories? You scan the room with your sonic screwdriver, the device buzzing softly as it analyzes the electromagnetic fields. The readings are off the charts, you mutter, more to yourself than to Sarah. Whatever's causing this, it's not natural. As you speak, the rumbling intensifies, the floor vibrating beneath your feet. Dust sifts down from the ceiling, catching in the beams of moonlight filtering through the windows. The air grows even colder, and Sarah shivers beside you, still gripping your arm tightly. Suddenly, the sonic screwdriver flashes a bright red, and a warning message appears in your mind: critical electromagnetic field detected. You say a critical electromagnetic field? That's the field strength at which a material undergoes a change in its physical properties. A field that powerful, if we stay in it too long it would be really bad for us. Maybe I can counter it with my sonic screwdriver by SETI. No, it hasn't got enough power. Sarah, run. The air crackles with energy as the electromagnetic field intensifies, sending sparks arcing through the dusty air. Sarah's hair stands on end as she releases your arm, her body responding to the field's pull. But where do we run to? Before you can answer, a deafening crack splits the air. The floor beneath your feet gives way, and you both stumble backward as a sinkhole opens up in the foyer. The mansion groans ominously, its ancient structure unable to withstand the growing power of the electromagnetic field. You say, well, I was going to say out of the house, but I don't think that's an option now. We're cut off. Quickly, there's a door to the side here. You and Sarah hurry towards the side door, the mansion shaking violently around you. As you reach for the knob, the door flies open of its own accord, revealing a narrow, dark hallway. The hallway stretches out before you, illuminated only by the faint glow of your sonic screwdriver. The air is heavy with the scent of decay and the incessant hum of the electromagnetic field. You step cautiously into the hall, Sarah close behind you. The door slams shut with a resounding bang, leaving you both trapped in the oppressive darkness. What now, Doctor? Sarah asks, her voice trembling slightly despite her bravado. This place is giving me the creeps. You say, me too, the electromagnetic field seems to be weaker here. It won't cause us permanent damage unless we stay for about 10 hours. Sarah breathes a sigh of relief at your words, though her grip on the sonic screwdriver remains tight. 10 hours? That's not exactly comforting, but it's better than the alternative. She scans the hallway with the device, the beam of light cutting through the gloom. It's strange, though. This mansion wasn't here before. I'm sure of it. You furrow your brow, considering her words. The sonic screwdriver's readings confirm that the electromagnetic field is indeed weaker here, but the device still registers anomalous energy signatures. You're right, Sarah. This place shouldn't exist. And yet here we are, in the middle of it. You say, wait, what? What am I saying? What are we saying? This mansion was here when we arrived, it was the reason we arrived. Agate's messing with us. You and Sarah exchange a bewildered glance, both realizing the implications of your revelation. The electromagnetic field's influence on their memories and perceptions is even more powerful than you initially thought. Doctor, what's happening to us? Sarah asks, her voice tinged with growing fear. Why is this place affecting us like this? You shake your head, trying to clear the fog from your mind. I'm not sure, Sarah. But we need to stay focused and find a way out of here. The longer we remain in this field, the more it's likely to affect us. The hallway suddenly seems to stretch on endlessly before you, the darkness pressing in from all sides. You say, okay, thinking, that room had stronger electromagnetism. How? Maybe some kind of emitters lining the walls. Why? And more importantly, why would it activate only when we came in? Because the sinkhole only started when we were in there, but it wasn't caused by us, it was the electromagnetic field, so that means this house didn't always have this electromagnetic field, something put it here, and it's never been tripped up before, which means either we're somehow the first people in the most alluring urban exploring haunted house spot in the world, or it's a trap. Sarah's eyes widen at your words, the implication sinking in. A trap? You mean someone, or something, set this up just for us? But why? Who would do such a thing? The hallway suddenly groans ominously, the ancient wood creaking under an unseen force. You and Sarah exchange a worried glance, both sensing the growing danger around you. I don't know, Sarah, you admit, your brow furrowed in concentration as you try to piece together the clues. But we need to be careful. If this is a trap, then whoever set it is likely still here, watching our every move. You say there are so many things I've angered in the past, and many with the power to do this, but which would be most likely? Oh no, but how? Okay, Sarah, I know you haven't watched Doctor Who and definitely not the classic series, but the first time the Doctor meets the Daleks on their home planet, Skaro, they power their cells with static electricity. They somehow transferred massive amounts of electricity through just the floor, so, even if they don't need that anymore, I bet they'd be the ones with a massive lead in electrical and electromagnetic engineering. Maybe one of those Daleks that came through the rift crashed or something and their ship couldn't take them back, and so they set up a trap we couldn't resist as revenge. Sarah's face grows pale as she processes your words. Daleks? Those metal things you're always going on about. She tightens her grip on the sonic screwdriver, the device now feeling woefully inadequate against such powerful enemies. A sharp crackling sound echoes through the hallway, followed by a shower of sparks that rain down from the ceiling. The electromagnetic field strength intensifies, causing your sonic screwdriver to emit a high-pitched whine of protest. "I think I hear something, Doctor," Sarah whispers, her words strained. "And it doesn't sound human." "I could be wrong, really I have no idea," you say, staring into the darkness, preparing for something to emerge. Suddenly, a deep, menacing voice echoes through the mansion, seeming to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Foolish Time Lord," it growls, "you dare trespass in our domain. We have been waiting for you." Sarah clutches your arm, her knuckles turning white from the force of her grip. "Doctor, what is it? What's happening?" "I have a feeling we're about to find out." The voice continues, its tone dripping with malice. "You have interfered with our plans for the last time, Doctor. Now, you will pay the price." You whisper to Sarah, "I wasn't thinking about it, but a single Dalek ship carries at least 100 each, and one crashed. Oh, that is a lot of Daleks. I was freaked out when it was just one." Sarah's face contorts in horror at your words, the implication sinking in. 100? "But Doctor, that's impossible. How could we possibly fight off that many?" The voice grows louder, more menacing. "Your time travel cannot save you now, Doctor. We have adapted our technology to this dimension. Your TARDIS is useless against us." Through the darkness, you see the iconic blue Dalek eye stalk along the two dome lights flickering to life, accompanied by the distinctive sound of heavy, mechanical whirring approaching from all directions. "Run, Doctor! We have to run!" Sarah hisses, tugging at your sleeve. "I think I agree," and you turn and run with Sarah. The electromagnetic field pulses violently as you and Sarah sprint down the hallway, the sonic screwdriver in her hand emitting a discordant whine. The air crackles with energy, and you can feel the hairs on your arms standing on end. Behind you, the unmistakable sound of Dalek casing scraping against the floor grows louder, the mechanical monsters closing in with unsettling speed. Their eye stalks bob and weave, locking onto their targets, you and Sarah. "Faster, Sarah," you shout over your shoulder, dodging a falling beam as the mansion starts to crumble under the strain of the electromagnetic forces. "Exterminate the Doctor, exterminate, exterminate, exterminate," is heard echoing throughout the house, Dalek guns firing down corridors in their attempts to hit you and Sarah. As you and Sarah race through the decaying mansion, the electromagnetic field grows more volatile with each passing second. The once grand halls now resemble a war zone, with falling debris and crackling energy threatening to engulf you at every turn. You keep running, there's got to be an exit somewhere. As you and Sarah navigate the chaotic halls, you suddenly hear a thunderous boom from the direction of the TARDIS. The ground shakes violently, and a blinding flash of light fills the corridor. When the light fades, you see a shimmering portal hovering in midair. "Doctor, what is that?" Sarah asks, her voice trembling with fear and adrenaline. As you approach the portal, you hear the distinctive sounds of Dalek casings drawing closer. The electromagnetic field pulses erratically, and the air crackles with raw energy. You scan it with your sonic screwdriver. The sonic screwdriver buzzes and flickers as it scans the portal, psychically relaying the results to you. The sonic screwdriver's readings are chaotic and unstable, indicating the portal is fluctuating widely between temporal and spatial dimensions. It appears to be a byproduct of the mansion's electromagnetic field interacting with the TARDIS's temporal shield. The portal is not stable and could collapse at any moment. You say, "Stay back, Sarah. It's an unstable closed time-like curve. If we enter it, we could get incinerated with radiation or grinded by gravity, or potentially stuck in an endless tunnel due to the gravity warping our perception of time." Sarah's face pales at your warning. "But Doctor, the Daleks are right behind us. We have to do something." The electromagnetic field pulses again, and you feel your hair stand on end. The portal's surface distorts and warps, revealing glimpses of impossible geometries. From behind you, the mechanical whirring of approaching Daleks grows louder, accompanied by the unmistakable click of their gun sticks being armed. There they are. Exterminate! A Dalek's voice booms, echoing through the mansion. The portal flares with intense light, casting strange shadows across the walls. The electromagnetic field intensifies, making your teeth buzz uncomfortably. You say, "Oh, of course," Sarah, stand and stare at the Dalek when they arrive into the room. When I say duck, do so. Trust me, I've got a plan, and face away from the portal. Sarah nods grimly and faces the corridor, her hands visibly shaking. The electromagnetic field pulses once more, causing the walls to crack and groan ominously. The portal flickers and shifts, its surface now reflecting multiple impossible geometries at once. The electromagnetic field intensifies, and the air feels thick and charged. From the corridor, you hear the distinct sounds of multiple Daleks approaching, their casings scraping against the floor and their eye stalk joints whirring as they turn to scan the area. You say, "Hello there. Big salt shakers from another universe." A Dalek's eye stalk extends into the room, its single optical sensor glinting with malevolent light. "Immobilize them," it commands, and suddenly the air is filled with the high-pitched whine of Dalek weaponry charging. Sarah's eyes widen in terror as she stares down the Dalek's gun stick. You can see her muscles tensing, ready to dive for cover at any moment. "Exterminate," the Dalek screeches, and a bolt of green energy streaks towards Sarah. "Duck," you yell, and Sarah immediately drops to the floor, rolling away from the blast. The Dalek's blast hits the temporal portal, creating a sort of arc back towards the Dalek, causing it to explode. The explosion rocks the mansion, sending chunks of masonry raining down from the ceiling. The electromagnetic field pulses wildly, causing the air to crackle with intense energy. The portal flickers and shifts, now showing multiple impossible geometries at once. The Doctor's trickery has destroyed one of US. But many more are coming, a Dalek screeches, its voice distorted by the electromagnetic interference. "You cannot escape US." Sarah scrambles to her feet, her face flushed with fear and adrenaline. "Doctor, what now?" "That portal doesn't look safe." You shake your head grimly. "No, it's not." Your eyes suddenly widen. "I know what to do. Reverse the polarity." You point your screwdriver at the portal and activate it. The sonic screwdriver whines as you activate it, its light pulsing in sync with the electromagnetic field. The portal reacts violently, its surface warping and distorting as you attempt to stabilize it. For a moment, it seems to be working, the impossible geometries recede and the portal stabilizes. But then something goes wrong. The electromagnetic field and the portal's energy collide, creating a catastrophic feedback loop. The mansion groans as the power surges, and the portal emits a deafening screech. You say, "Okay, that didn't work as I expected, but it did do that, which is something." The portal convulses violently, its surface roiling with eldritch energies. Suddenly, the mansion's electromagnetic field surges to a devastating peak, causing the very fabric of spacetime to shudder and warp around the unstable vortex. With a blinding flash and a deafening boom, the portal collapses in on itself, releasing a massive shockwave that blasts through the decaying manor. You and Sarah are thrown back by the force of the explosion, slamming painfully into the far wall. She crumples to the floor, dazed and winded. The walls crumble and the floor buckles as the mansion begins to collapse around them. You take Sarah's hand and say, "Come on, places to go. That wall should have a hole in it just in the direction of the TARDIS." Sarah stumbles and nearly falls as the Doctor pulls her along, the mansion shaking violently around them. "Doctor, what are you doing?" she cries out over the cacophony of collapsing stone and metal. "Getting us out of here," the Doctor shouts back. "The TARDIS should be just through this hole in the wall." You run back into the TARDIS with Sarah. The Doctor yanks Sarah through the hole in the wall, both stumbling and falling as they tumble into the TARDIS console room. The time machine sensors detect the collapsing mansion and automatically seal the doors, but the electromagnetic interference has done something to the systems. The console sputters and sparks, and the TARDIS emits a long, ominous beep. You say, "We're safe for now, but we need to figure out a way to stop the Daleks. Getting away is not enough, we need to somehow get them back to their own universe or something." The TARDIS's console flickers and sputters as you and Sarah stumble into the console room, the walls still shaking from the collapse of the mansion. The air crackles with residual electromagnetic energy, making your hair stand on end and causing the console's displays to glitch and distort. Sarah gasps for breath, her face flushed and her eyes wide with fear. "Doctor, what now? We can't keep running from the Daleks forever." You frown, your brow furrowed in concentration as you study the console's erratic readings. "No, we can't. But we can't go back out there either, not with the mansion collapsing and the Daleks still out there." You say, "I'm setting the TARDIS to create an 3D map of the area. Even for a highly technologically advanced species like the Daleks, they've got to have some sort of station generating this electromagnetic effect from somewhere, and maybe, just maybe, that might lead us to their base of operations. It might even be their base of operations, who knows?" And then you input the command for a 3D map of the surrounding environment into the TARDIS console. The TARDIS's systems whir and click as you input the command, but the interference from the electromagnetic field causes significant distortion in the data collection. The 3D map that materializes on the central column is fragmented and glitchy, with large portions showing only static and interference. However, a few key elements stand out: a massive, dome-shaped structure several miles away that's pulsing with energy, and a network of underground tunnels leading to it. Sarah peers at the map, her face grim. "Doctor, that looks like a power station of some sort. But if the Daleks have built something that big, why wouldn't they hide it under the mansion? It doesn't make sense." You say, "Well, there's multiple possibilities. They fear the electromagnetic effect damaging the electronics inside the dome. They crash-landed and built the dome around it, but the mansion was only nearby and not above." "I'm not sure." The TARDIS's systems suddenly surge, causing the static-filled map to flicker and distort even more. Through the interference, you catch glimpses of what appears to be a massive power core at the center of the dome structure, pulsing with a sickly green energy. The Doctor's face sets in a grim line as he watches the data struggle to process. You say, "More important than why is what are they planning? Because they're not just going to stop with killing us, I'm sure of it, and this mansion plan seems far too simple. What if it's a diversion from something larger?" The TARDIS's warning systems suddenly blare as the power core on the map pulses with increasing intensity. Sarah clutches her chest, gasping as the electromagnetic interference surges through the time machine systems. The Doctor's eyes narrow as he studies the data, his fingers flying across the controls. "The power core is ramping up," he says grimly. "Whatever they're planning, it's tied to that. And the mansion wasn't just a simple trap, it may have been a way to test the TARDIS's space-time bubble shield." You say, "But you couldn't cause an anomaly like the portal we saw with just a high-powered magnetic field, or at least I don't think you could, so either it was combined with some other technique or there's something here that's using some otherworldly technology." Sarah, I know you haven't watched Doctor Who, but in the show the Daleks had a massive war with the Time Lords, meaning that they know how to deal with Time Lord tech. Fortunately we're from another universe and this TARDIS works off similar but fundamentally different systems, meaning it should take them a bit to figure things out, giving us some time to think. The TARDIS's warning systems continue to blare as the Doctor works frantically at the console, trying to stabilize the ship's systems. Sarah grimaces, rubbing her temples as the electromagnetic interference pounds at her mind. "This is just great," she mutters. Stuck on an alien planet with the Daleks and a malfunctioning time machine. "Remind me again why I signed up for this." The Doctor doesn't respond, too focused on the console. His brow furrows as he studies the flickering, distorted 3D map. If they've been planning this for some time, he muses, then they may have contingencies in place for dealing with the TARDIS. You say, "They still think I'm using Gallifreyan tech because they aren't aware Gallifrey doesn't exist in this universe. They'll be expecting to use some sort of trick to mess up a Gallifreyan TARDIS, probably whenever we inevitably land in that big dome thing of theirs, meaning if we can switch it up, take advantage of their expectations, we might be able to shut them down. I just need to think, what systems could be taken advantage of in their universes TARDISs that don't exist in my TARDIS?" You say, "Well, there's a few things they could maybe do, mess up the materialization process so that landing doesn't work properly, although I've only really seen that happen in time-locked events rather than being done artificially. They could maybe try to use temporal weapons, time rams. Wait, yes, a time ram. It's been shown in the Doctor Who universe that if a TARDIS were to attempt to materialize in the same place and time of another TARDIS, it creates what's called a time ram, a cataclysmic event which obliterates both TARDISes. And the Daleks do have the tech to build a TARDIS-like space-time ship, as they did so in one old serial of classic Doctor Who. I think that they're planning on locking onto the TARDIS and landing wherever it's going to, basically acting as a suicide bomb which allows the rest of the Daleks to go unstopped. But how could we divert this? You pause and then you say yes. I've got it. See, they're expecting to track me through this universe's version of the time vortex, but we don't have to use that. The original design for my TARDIS worked off what I call a shift space bubble, a design which they can't track because it creates a bubble of space-time completely separated from the rest of everything. You start setting the TARDIS to take off in shift space mode and land into the Dalek dome. The TARDIS's systems shudder and groan as the Doctor frantically inputs the coordinates for the Dalek's dome. The warning lights continue to flash, and the console emits an alarming series of beeps and whirs. Sarah clutches the edge of the console, her knuckles turning white. You dematerialize the TARDIS. The TARDIS materializes with a shaky lurch, the blue police box exterior shuddering as it settles on the ground outside the Dalek dome. The Doctor quickly disengages the shift space bubble, allowing the TARDIS to reconnect with the normal flow of space-time. He grins at Sarah, a glint of mischief in his eyes. You say, now, let's go and meet the neighbors and step outside the TARDIS into the interior of the Dalek dome. Sarah follows the Doctor out of the TARDIS, her heart pounding as she steps into the cavernous interior of the Dalek dome. The air is thick with the hum of machinery and the incessant clicking and whirring of Dalek casings. Towering metal platforms stretch into the distance, lined with thousands of dormant Dalek casings. In the center of the large dome, what appears to be a large pillar covered in panels. Quickly, the room begins to activate, the Daleks along the sides slowly waking. The Doctor and Sarah watch as row upon row of Dalek casings spring to life, their eye stalks swiveling to lock onto their position. The dome's massive central pillar, which now reveals itself to be a control panel, flickers to life with an ominous red glow. The Doctor's face sets in a grim expression. You say a hello. Daleks, I'd like to talk. The nearest Dalek whirs to life, its eye stalk swiveling to focus directly on you. Its voice rings out, cold and metallic, you dare to infiltrate our facility, Doctor? Your presence here is an intrusion. Your life is to be terminated. You say, oh, cut it. You'd know I'd be here. I mean, that mansion was basically an invitation. The Dalek's eye stalk twitches in what appears to be surprise, its casing emitting a series of rapid clicks. You are correct, Doctor. We anticipated your arrival at the mansion. However, your methods of travel have exceeded our expectations. You have not used the temporal vortex as we anticipated. You say, and who exactly are you? Commander? You seem to speak for the Daleks, but you're very clearly not a Emperor model. I mean, they're much bigger and they'd be on a ship that's, well, bigger. The Dalek regards you with its unblinking red eye. I am the strategist. I oversee the operations of this facility and the greater Dalek plans for this reality. It gestures with a manipulator arm towards the control panel. You see before you the central nexus of our operations. From here, we will orchestrate the invasion of your reality and all connected realities. The mansion you infiltrated was merely a test of your defenses, a prelude to the coming storm. You say you're clever, but you've got no chance. I'm sorry to say. I mean, you could never defeat the Doctor in your own universe, and you had years to figure him out. But that's the thing, I'm not that Doctor, and I've had years and years to study you, but you barely anything about me. Clearly, I mean, that trick I just pulled with the TARDIS. All those little tidbits you know about me from your universe are useless here. The strategist's casing emits a series of rapid clicks, its eye stalk flickering with an almost agitated energy. You speak boldly, Doctor. But your bravado will not save you from the inevitable. You say you're right, you will. The Daleks' movements become more frenzied, their eye stalks swiveling rapidly as they surround you and Sarah. What? Why would we save you? You are the doctor, you must be exterminated. You say, but you need me, don't you? Because back when I stopped the rest of the fleet during the invasion in 3008, I remember distinctly wiping the computer systems of the multiverse rift traveling design thingy blueprints. Basically, you don't have a way to call in reinforcements, and I also wiped the designs for all Dalek creation devices, meaning you can't get more Daleks, you've got a limited supply. Thing is, I have all those designs, copied them into the archives of my TARDIS after I wiped your mothership. If you kill me, you'll have to scavenge parts to build makeshift Daleks, and at that point it wouldn't exactly be the purity you're looking for, would it? The strategist Dalek pauses, its eye stalk flickering with what could almost be interpreted as uncertainty. The other Daleks halt their advance, their casings emitting a low, ominous hum. You speak of a design you claim to possess, the strategist Dalek states, its voice dripping with skepticism. How do we know this is not a bluff, Doctor? You say, check your ship files for anything related to creating more Daleks, traveling across multiple universes, you won't find anything. The strategist Dalek remains silent for a long moment, its eye stalk flickering as it presumably consults its internal records or communicates with the other Daleks. Finally, it speaks again, its voice tinged with a new note of uncertainty. You are correct, Doctor. The files you speak of are indeed missing from our records. However, this does not guarantee your claim is true. You reach into your jacket and pull out a small, metallic disc, holding it up for the Daleks to see. This is a data crystal containing all the necessary schematics for Dalek creation and multiverse travel. You say, I will install it into your ship given you spare me and my companions' lives. You tilt your head to Sarah and wink, whispering, don't worry, I've got a plan. The strategist Dalek regards the data crystal with what almost appears to be a covetous glint in its eye stalk. Very well, Doctor, it states, its voice tinged with a mixture of grudging respect and suspicion. We will allow you and your companion to live, provided you install the data crystal into our ship as promised. The Daleks part ways, creating a narrow path leading towards the central control panel of the dome structure. The strategist Dalek gestures with its manipulator arm towards the panel. You may proceed, Doctor. But be warned, any attempt to sabotage our systems or activate hidden weapons will result in your immediate extermination. You say, oh, don't be ridiculous. What harm could I possibly cause with a disc, as you insert it into a slot on the wall? After it goes in, you suddenly turn your head back at the Dalek strategist. I suppose it's fair to be worried. It's never safe to plug unknown external drives into your computer. They could always have malware. Which would be especially bad if that computer happened to have access to automatic upgrades to weapon systems. In that case, someone could, auto-install firmware which makes all Dalek weapons updatable and, most importantly, useless. The Dalek's casings emit a high-pitched shriek of alarm as the data crystal triggers an automatic system upgrade. The strategist Dalek's eye stalk swivels frantically, its voice rising in pitch as it realizes the Doctor's deception. Exterminate! Imminent threat. The Doctor has compromised our system. But it's too late. The weapon systems, now locked by the Doctor's cleverly disguised sabotage, remain useless. The Daleks' weapons refuse to activate, their eye stalks flickering in what appears to be panic as they realize their doom. You say, now I've turned your command center into an elderly home where you can all rot away. It wasn't even the actual plans in there, it was just a rewritten DVD of the show Friends which had the cover spray painted in metallic paint. Oh, and did I forget to mention? You can't leave the dome. All Daleks outside the dome are being recalled for weapons repair due to a systems malfunction. Once inside, you're just gonna be stuck here. I did leave the files for Friends in that DVD though, so I guess you're just going to have to get really acquainted with it to starve off the boredom. The Daleks' shrieks of alarm and fury echo through the dome as they realize the extent of the Doctor's deception. The strategist Dalek's eye stalk swivels wildly, its voice rising to a shrill pitch as it attempts to countermand the Doctor's sabotage. All Daleks, ignore the Doctor's commands. This is a trick. We must. But its orders are cut off as the dome systems, now under the Doctor's control, emit a series of discordant tones. The Daleks inside the dome continue to attempt to fire upon you and Sarah with their guns making a light clicking sound as they fail to fire. You turn to Sarah, well, shall we go? Best let them get to their Friends binge watch, you chuckle. Sarah grins, shaking her head in amazement at your devious plan. You're unbelievable, Doctor. But I wouldn't expect anything less from you. She follows you back to the TARDIS. Home sweet home, Sarah remarks, glancing around the TARDIS control room with a sense of relief. She turns to you, her expression a mix of gratitude and lingering unease.